So I juiced carrots and I ate raw vegan. And that only lasted for so long. And then the sugar addiction had kicked in again. I was already severely overweight and very unhealthy. The last thing I needed was to add more sugar.
If you've been watching, you know that I take my ingredients very seriously, but there are 3 companies that I have found that I absolutely love. Check the description for discount codes. Hello, welcome to my show. My name is Adrienne. This is a series where I interview people who've inspired me to live a healthier life. Today, I'm interviewing Cassie from Carnivore Quest. She's a mom, she's a cancer survivor, she's a YouTube sensation. I love her story. There's ups, downs, and all arounds. It wasn't just a simple, let's change what we eat, and now everything's cured. I'm so excited to share this inspiration with you. Cassie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to have a conversation with you and help spread the word of the wonders of the carnivore diet.
So how can you tell us a little bit about how you got here? I know thousands of people have seen your story, but a couple people haven't. How did you get here?
Yeah, so, well, we're going to have to go back to the year 2015 when we initially dipped our toes into the low carb diet. We started with Atkins and we were having some great success. We were about 3 or 4 months in, and then my appendix ruptured and had major surgery with that. And the recovery process was very long. Well, not knowing what I know now, I returned to comfort food and gained, I believe I lost like 35 pounds and gained everything back. And then we had some other issues. And our life was completely, the rug was pulled out from underneath us. And so we once again returned to comfort. And then once we got our footing and we had to rebuild our lives, we moved down to South Carolina in March of 2016. I started falling ill in July of 2016. Wasn't sure what it was, thought maybe there were complications from the surgery. And I had went to the ER and then decided to find a GI, a private GI practice. And they did a colonoscopy and they found stage 3B sigmoid colon cancer. So back in 2015, they also removed part of my intestines then as well. So I've had surgery done on my intestines twice. A large portion was removed. Oh,
So how did that affect your eating? Did you gain weight from that? I
so
mean, that must have been so stressful to have cancer and to be having these surgeries on top of all the other life things you have going on.
yeah, absolutely. I had every intention to clean up my diet, right? And that didn't exactly happen. After we found the cancer and some testing, a few months after I had a PET scan, it was about a month afterwards, I had a PET scan. And the doctor told me that my cancer was free and clear. They removed the cancer, the cancerous tumor. I no longer have cancer. However, they still recommended 6 months of chemotherapy. And that never made sense to me. I questioned the doctor, asked him, well, why would I be prescribed chemotherapy if I'm cancer free? Well, they told me it was for preventative measures. And it never set well with me. So I started doing some research and I found a gentleman by the name of Chris Work, and he has a YouTube channel himself, Chris Beat Cancer. However, he juiced carrots. I also looked up Garrison therapy and a multitude of different types of diets. And Garrison therapy was not in our budget. That was not going to happen. So I juiced carrots and I ate raw vegan. And that only lasted for so long. And then the sugar addiction had kicked in again. I was already severely overweight and very unhealthy. The last thing I needed was to add more sugar. I'm a complete food addict. So it added insult to injury. Well, I stumbled upon keto while doing my research. And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. Tried the keto. It didn't go very well for me. Old habits, they die hard. And I reverted back to my old eating habits, stress and just the worry of cancer, thinking this is the end. Why don't you just go ahead and eat what you want anyway? What's the difference? You're cancer free. You're okay. I was definitely playing mental gymnastics at this point, and that didn't work out well. So let's fast forward maybe a year or two of struggles. And then my husband, Larry, discovered Laura Spath and Dr. Ken Berry. Well, we knew of Ken Berry from the keto, and then he transitioned into carnivore. So Larry had recommended maybe we try carnivore, saw the success that Laura and Chris were having. Laura and Chris had, and he beat type 2 diabetes, and they were severely overweight, and they looked amazing. They did it and thought, well, wow, if they can do it, we can do it. They're just average, ordinary people, right? So, yeah, we tried it and did well for a few months and then stumbled. And we gained a lot of weight. And tried again. We started a channel and, rinse and repeat. Same thing happens. One slip was all that it would take, with the mindset thinking, well, I can get right back on. And that just never worked out. So, I mean, basically, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, and we've been fighting ever since. We've had some slips, but, ultimately, we've had a lot of success. And I'm actually in the best position in my life right now regarding weight and health. I feel amazing. And I feel confident that the weight will stay off. It's not going to make its return. And I wouldn't say that I have food addiction beat, but I definitely have it in check.
Yeah, I have the food addiction too, and I wish we thought and talked more about that. I think that's why Biggest Loser didn't work for me. Gastric bypass didn't work for me because we didn't address that one piece. But also those foods that we're being told to eat trigger the addiction. They're addicting. They're made to be addicting. All the keto treats, all the health food, they're so addicting.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
really
I'm
are.
with you on that one. So this has been 3.5 years, or how long has it been?
Yeah, it's been, we started in October of 2020. And like I said, we did well up until Christmas. And then Christmas Eve, oh, we're doing really well. Why don't we just treat ourselves to a pizza? And that was all she wrote. And then it was just downhill from there. And I gained an additional 9 pounds. So I started initially at 260, and then by Christmas I was up to 275. Actually, 10 pounds. I just realized that I thought I was 274, but I got up to almost 270. And yeah, and then we do well again, slip and fall. It happened again. You'd think we've learned our lesson the first few times, and again, that food addiction is strong. And yeah, I think, well, maybe I can handle one meal because some people can. And that's not me. That's not me. So yeah, we're 3.5 years in. I am down officially 83 pounds. I am at the lowest weight I have been in 21 years, I believe. So, and I'm on a great roll. I am. I'm feeling really good.
I'm not at my goal weight by any means, but this is the smallest I've ever been, and I've maintained it for a year. And there's like a 10-pound variance, but just like you, I do so great, and then I go on vacation. And it's not that I'm getting crazy with my vacation, but I'll add the creamer back, I'll add the sweetener, I'll add the monk fruit back. I'm like, I can have it while I'm on vacation.
Sure.
And then I get back and it takes 2 months to get back on. And in that time, I've gained inflammation and a few pounds, and yeah, so I really appreciate your channel because that's real. Seeing people just change and then lose 70 pounds and stay small, to me, that's not real. It's not real for me. I wonder how many people that is real for, right?
Well, I think most people can relate to the struggle. There's very few people who can do it in one run
Mhm.
and they have tremendous success and they stay with it. It's actually kind of rare. After being on YouTube for the last 3.5 years, we've gained a very loyal following. We've got to know our
Mhm.
subscribers and we know of their struggles, and comment after comment, they're saying the very same thing. And so many people that, again, for 3.5 years, they're still struggling and they appreciate our honesty and our openness and our vulnerability, because a lot of people don't want to admit defeat or admit, they're eating off plan. And
Mhm.
some will even just disappear for a while. A good friend of ours is dealing with that right now. And I really feel for this person. They had tremendous success and a beacon of hope, and they've been off the scene for quite some time now. And I'm just hoping that, they're regaining. And I hope and pray that this person can get back on track and be inspirational as they were, and just, start making videos again, because they are a light. This person really is a light.
When I came into this space, I saw so many people documenting their story, and I was like, "Thank you for doing that. Not for me. I've done it before. I'm good. When I fall off, I don't want anybody to see it." But so many people like you have inspired me to just be honest. We're human, and I've accepted that on this path, there's going to be ups and downs, and it's just going to be what's my why for keeping on. Now, you recently had your cancer rechecked. How did that go?
So it went great. Let's go back to last year in August, just for the fun of it. I don't know. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. I like to stress myself out. I also have Hashimoto's hypothyroid, and I went in to have that tested, and it was just a general physical as well. So I had my lab work tested. I had her run, just your basic generic blood pan. And I said, well, you know what? It's been a while since I've seen oncology or had any testing done for that. I said, why don't we just see where I'm at? Well, I had been eating fairly clean. We just got off of, had a run at Lion, and then I was doing BBBE. Well, I tested out a recipe that had so much dairy. And I didn't even think about the test itself. So it was about 3 days before I had the test. I had a lot of dairy for about 3 or 4 days. And so the test they were running was a CEA, which is it's a tumor marker. And that was the same test that they saw, or that they used when I initially learned of my cancer. So it was elevated. Now, not so much to the point where it was for sure that it was cancer. It was borderline. It was 19 point something. I can't recall off the top of my head, where 20 is like, okay, you're back to stage one. And I said to my doctor, I said, I was very bloated and uncomfortable. I wasn't feeling well. I mean, all that dairy affected me greatly. I had never been in that amount of pain from food. I mean, other than when I would stuff myself silly, right? And I didn't do that. I just consumed a lot of dairy. So after a few days of the initial shock, when I started thinking things over, I'm like, that's not what this is. You're not feeling well. You're just experiencing indigestion. You've got some serious inflammation going on. So I got in touch with my doctor and asked her to run the test again. I said, why don't you let me run the test again? And immediately she wanted to have a CAT scan. She had a referral to oncology and just all these things. I thought, all I want to do is have you run my CEA again before I even start going into all of that again. And she wouldn't do it. So I just didn't go back to see her. Not until
Yeah.
recently, because my prescription for my levothyroxine was running low. But doggone, I have to go back, and I hadn't spoke to her since August. And yeah, so anyway, I asked her to run my CEA levels again. I said, I'm feeling well. I didn't go and see oncology. She didn't question it too much. And she did run the test, and it came back very well. It was 3.6, I believe, which is right there, smack dab in the middle of normal. And all of my suspicions, that they were correct. I was right. Now, she never said boo about it. The only comment that she made on the test results was, "Oh, your CEA is returned to normal." We never had a conversation about that. Now, my thyroid levels were a little out of whack, but that's because I had given up coffee and dairy recently. So it kind of threw me off. My appetite has greatly increased since then. And when I would skip meals, skip breakfast. I would fast until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Well, since giving up coffee, I would eat breakfast first thing. And as you know, you have to take that medication on an empty stomach. So it threw me off a bit. My levels were a little elevated. So I need to go and be retested probably in another 3 weeks. But after that, I am definitely shopping for another doctor. Anyway, yes, so far so good. I am almost 8 years cancer free in spite of all of the chemotherapy and all the other nonsense they tried throwing at me. I like to tell people, you have to do what's right for you. Just because I said no to it doesn't necessarily mean that's the right move for you. You are your own best advocate, and everything, and all the way from my head down to my toes, it did not seem right to get the chemo done, and it didn't seem right to go back to oncology in August. So I don't know if I'm a little bit of a rebel or just stubborn or whatever it is. I listened to my gut. First time in my life, right? It actually turned out right.
I'm a rebel too.
I
When
think
I
we
got when I got really sick when I was pregnant with the bad virus, they were trying to push a lot of stuff on me, and I left and saw an independent doctor, and she saved my life and my baby's life.
yeah.
And I mean, they were basically saying, "Let's C-section your baby out. And we're going to put you on a ventilator." And I said,
Um,
"And we're here. We had a home birth, and all is good. Praise the Lord." I feel like we're very fortunate. God was watching over us. We're very lucky. I know not everybody ended up in the same path as me, and so we were just very fortunate. So, okay, so I have the thyroid issue too.
yeah.
So you think that the dairy thing is real? Like we really can't have dairy, huh?
I don't know. I hate to admit that fact because I do consume it on occasion. Now, when I was drinking coffee, I would legitimately drink half a quart of heavy cream every day. And I would also consume cheese on my burgers or, mix it in with some ground beef. So I was consuming a lot of dairy. I don't know if it affected me or not. I can tell you this, since being in the low carb spectrum though and losing weight, my dosage was 225 micrograms and it is now down to 125. So it has decreased. I know people have gotten off medication, more than one, even a few people in our group have said that they're off it. And I'm thinking, fantastic. When is it my turn? Maybe it's the dairy. I don't know. How long do you have Hashimoto's?
Yes, and I just started some T3 medicine
Okay.
because the numbers just kept going down, and I've tried the natural things. I tried the lion diet. And the thyroid numbers were just diving, and I'm just not feeling well. So we're going to try some, but ultimately I have chronic inflammatory response syndrome, so we're hoping once I get through that treatment that this will get a lot better. So
Yeah.
I'm coupling this beautiful meat diet with the chronic inflammatory response syndrome protocol, the Shoemaker protocol.
Well, there's so
'Cause
much to be said about carnivore. I mean, people have healed and reversed disease and illness. It's just incredible. I know of people who are reversing chronic kidney disease, and there's a plethora of people who have reversed type 2 diabetes, and people are fighting cancer with it. So I can only imagine if we're super strict. Now, do you eat beef only? Are you pretty much lion? Do you incorporate chicken or seafood? What's your diet like?
I've been pretty much lying since I turned 40, which was on March 15th, and the goal is to just make it to Hack Your Health, then I'm done.
It's
And
so
then bring
difficult,
all
right?
the eggs, maybe the decaf, but I have to be careful because just like always, I when I got rid of those foods, I felt this food freedom and this food sobriety. And I know you guys have some alcohol in your past. Do you still drink or did you quit? Very
So
quit.
Larry quit. I was never much of a drinker. If I would drink, it was socially, but not very often, maybe once a year. Now, I was working at a brewery. This was my last slip up in January. I was a manager of a brewery. Well, I have to taste the beer and I have to sample the wine. And I even tried very hard not to sample the food. Well, it ended up being that my chef wasn't much of a chef. He was probably more of a line cook. And I had to help create the menu. So that just kind of spiraled out of control. So in January, yes, I was drinking. Not much though. I'm a lightweight anyway. I could drink a glass of wine and I'm heavily buzzed. But anyway, getting back to Larry. Yes, Larry was a severe alcoholic for the better part of 11 years. And he hasn't had a drop. Oh my gosh. How long has it been? It's been 9 years, or is he coming up on 10?
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
he hasn't had a drop. He's doing amazing.
That's amazing. I quit drinking about 11 years ago, and so I always wondered how can I get that with food, and for me, the Line diet gave me that. But I feel like I can have sobriety around eggs and fish and pork. There's so many great carnivore foods that are not addicting. Pork rinds, heavy whipping cream. So, so are you doing the dairy now?
I am incorporating a little dairy. I'll have my version of a chai latte a couple times a week. I did make something with dairy semi recently, the chicken fried chicken. And, it's funny. As soon as I made that chicken fried chicken recipe, then I made another recipe that had more dairy in it. And I made something this evening that had dairy in it. And it's like, that there is room for error on carnivore. It's not the be all end all. You have to be strict. Like with you and Lion, I look up to people like yourself who can do Lion diet for a significant period of time, because I think I've made it 3 weeks at most. And I felt the best I ever had. There's no doubt about that, but I get bored easily. And I need different flavors and textures in order for me to keep on track. And I would absolutely love to tighten up. Now, after January, I did a little bit of fasting to get myself back on track, and I went back into strict Lion and then BBBE for a short period of time, and then I fell off. And I had kept it pretty strict, other than some seasoning here and there. But I would really love to just get to a point where the mindset again is food is fuel. Food is
Mm.
not pleasure. Right now, I'm trying to justify, well, have this dairy because, you're a little worried you might go off the rails again. And so treat yourself. That's my mindset at the moment. It could change. It could change tomorrow, but I am going on vacation next week. And I'm not worried about going off the rails. My mindset is, maybe you could do a little keto board. I don't know. The struggle is real. It is.
Yes, it is. I still I get nervous every single interview. You'd think, been on national TV, flown around the country, she's good. No, I still get nervous. And so I tell myself afterwards, I get a carnivore bar in bed. I know that's not necessarily healthy thinking, but on the other hand, is it really that bad to have a
No.
carnivore bar in bed? It's better than heavy whipping cream. Like, have you ever had the sugar-free, heavy whipping cream? 0 sugar whipping it's in a purple can.
Oh, the Ready Whip. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I see. That's something that I steer clear of. My heavy whipping cream consists of milk, cream, and Gallagher. That's the
that's right.
only
You were pointing out the bad ingredients in some of these things.
the carrageenan.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
What's
And that
bad
was
about carrageenan? What is it? I don't even know what that is.
so. My understanding is so carrageenan it's plant based. It comes from Irish red moss, which is fine until it's introduced to acid. Well, coffee is acidic, and our stomach has acids. And then it can be dangerous, causing IBS, inflammation, colon cancer, things of that nature. It's just all around no good. And it got me thinking, when I was drinking so much, you know, could it be contributing to the cancer? A lot of people
Yeah.
were saying, well, you've been fine, you've been eating all meat, with a couple slip ups here and there, maybe even a ketovore binge or something. But for so many years, after giving up the sweeteners and the even the international foods coffees, or anything, any additive to the coffee, I was still consuming that. And after I got onto carnivore, my coffee intake skyrocketed because it was a treat.
Yep.
Everything else, we had given up everything else. So the heavy cream was certainly something that I would look forward to, and I drink it all day, every day. So that was a major concern when those elevated CEA tests, when I had those. But yeah, so gellan gum is that's as bad as the ingredients are going to get. And that's even a little concerning. Now, all the reports and the research on it say it's safe. But
So
I've
far.
yet, so exactly,
Just
exactly.
like
I've
they
yet
say pea protein's fine, but the truth is I bet you anything in a few years, pea protein is gonna be in the same bucket as seed oils. I bet you anything.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, there's so much that's coming out of the woodwork now that we're finding out, and the information is definitely they're trying to suppress it. Now, I've been doing a lot of research on dairy lately, and you know, not all dairy is created equal, and there are which one thing I don't think a lot of carnivores knew is that cheese isn't made, not all cheese, most cheese is not made with animal in it. It's vegetable, and most of it is GMO. So that just doesn't sit well with me. So I don't know. I've been doing my research on that. And, when I get passionate about that, that's usually when I start to tighten up. It's like, yeah, maybe you need to pump the brakes on this. But there is still some good cheese out there, especially European cheese, because they tend to still make it old world style.
When I first started learning about all the stuff, I started a farm. I had 600 quail and 20 rabbits, and we also raised 100 meat chickens, all the wrong meats, like all the lean, gross meats. But my quail had delicious little eggs, and but it was a lot. But if you want to ever start a commune and we raise our own cows, I'm up for it. I'll be in
Hey,
charge of, I don't know, the mowing.
let's do it. I would love that. Could you imagine, if, say, 100 carnivores bought a plot of land and, just built our little homesteads on there, and we did it like they used to do back in the day, right? Trading foods. And
Yes, and our homes are made out of non-toxic material, and that'd be
yeah,
great. I'm in, sign me up.
I love it. I watched a movie the other day. I don't know if you've seen it. It's similar to like an Aaron Brockovich story. It's called Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo. And basically, it's talking about the dirty deeds that DuPont had done from, geez, maybe the 40s or 50s upwards to the late 90s, and especially with the Teflon. And I was like, wow, this could explain a lot too, just how bad the Teflon was. And I heard rumors of it, never really thought
Mm.
about it, how bad it is.
I think this will be so helpful to people.
Okay.
Once you, let's say, fall off,
Mhm.
how do you get back on? What is it that you do? And it doesn't have to be perfect or last, but like you do keep going at it and you do keep maintaining a significant weight loss. So whether
Yeah.
you're on or off, it really doesn't matter what keeps you going, what keeps you striving. How do you do it?
Well, as I've learned from experience, and it seems with every slip, it's easier to get back on. It's easier to say no, and the duration is not nearly as long as it used to
Mhm.
be. Usually beef. I just start eating beef. I make sure that I eat a lot of fatty meats. I don't skip meals. I make sure that I am full, because it's hard to cave into your comfort foods when you're full. You just eaten a big bowl of chuck roast or a fatty ribeye or whatever it may be, and you know, all of a sudden, whatever craving you may have had, it just isn't so much. It's a non-issue, but it took some training, I guess you could say. I've been in training for years with this, and I've just learned from my mistakes. And not only that, after every slip and fall, you just feel like garbage. It's different the older you get. Now that I'm 51, I'm postmenopausal, you know, the weight comes on like that. And the inflammation is ridiculous. My hands would go numb in the middle of the night, after having a cheat meal. Even when I had my keto binge back in August, because of all the inflammation, all the extra cheese, and the questionable ingredients from I went to a Mexican restaurant. I knew doggone well that none of it was clean. And there were probably things that I didn't even want to know about, but in my mind, like, oh, it's ketovore, so it's kosher. But yeah, my hands would go numb.
So your hands go numb while you're sleeping. Mine do that too.
Yeah,
Well, not while I'm lying, not while I'm eating beef, but if
no.
I slip up, I mean, even artificial sweeteners, my arms will go numb while I'm sleeping, and they're not
Mhm.
above my head. They're down, and it must be the inflammation.
I would have to think, at first I thought it was carpal tunnel, but little did I know it was the food. And especially when I was eating ultra sad. I don't want to call it sad diet because what is that, like 2,000 calories, 2,200 calories a day, and five servings of fruit? No, no, no. Well, most of us know how it's binge eating. You know, I I would have to sleep on my recliner sitting up because it was so bad and it just hurt so bad. It wasn't just they would go numb, my hands would hurt. And I'd have to stand up, shake it off, and do it maybe 3, 4 times in the middle of the night. I wasn't sleeping well. I sleep like a baby now, I'll tell you that, especially since giving
Yeah.
up the food. Yeah, I sleep very well now. I do. I sleep good, like a solid 10 hours. If I want, I can get 10 hours, but sometimes my eyes pop open. I'm like, yeah, let's start the day. That's another thing too, is looking forward to each day, having a new zest for life because I feel better and I want to experience life, and life is so much brighter. And I know that the future, it's just skies are blue. And when it seemed like everything was doom and gloom back in the day, you know?
And now you have a community too, right? So that helps. Like, is it on Facebook?
So yeah, community on Facebook. We have two, one for women and just a general community. Excuse me, one for women and then just a general community. We also have a little something on Instagram, and then of course, our followers. And I really, truly do love these people, because they've lifted me up. And I have said this once, I'll say it again. I don't know where I would be without them. I don't know if I would have the strength to get back onto carnivore without them. Because let me be honest, I mean, having work done, people without gallbladders, people who are missing, part of their intestine, it's hard on your system eating all of that fat. And it's like you're always on month 1 or 2 of carnivore. You know what I mean? There's no warning. So yeah, it can be quite difficult, but they're amazing people. And my point was that so many times that would stop me from wanting to get back on, and I would try something else. Oh, well, let me try ketovore. And even back in 2021, I did try Daniel diet, which is basically vegan, right? Because I didn't want to deal with that issue any
Mhm.
longer. But now I'm at the point, it's like, people look up to us. I can't let them down. I can't let my kids down. Even though they're all adults, I can't let Larry down. They need me. So that is also, this is a very long explanation too. When I
No,
slip
it's
and
good.
fall, how I get back up, that has so much to do with it, that people rely on me, and that is a driving force, a big
I have
one.
found when I share my meals with people, or if I say I'm gonna do something, then I feel like I actually have to do it. Or if I just tell myself it, I'm like, Monday, here we go. Monday, I got this. But if I didn't tell anybody, it may or may not happen.
Yeah, exact
'Cause that
accountability.
accountability is wonderful.
Absolutely. It is.
But then sometimes does the accountability feel like a lot on your shoulders, and how do you deal with that?
Absolutely, it does. It's a double-edged sword if you think about it. There are some times, because Larry and I know this seems strange because we are private in a way, although we're blasting our lives out there for YouTube, but almost at an arm's length, right? But there are times that it would be nice just to go back to my life in a way with the tools that I have, and thinking I can do this now. Maybe it would be kind of nice not to have to report my weight to anybody, not to have to answer to anybody. But I guess that just goes with anything, right? You don't want to have to answer to your boss, and you don't want to have to answer to your parents when you're a kid. And that's almost the way that it feels like you have to answer and you have to be accountable. But again, it's a double-edged sword, and I'll take it any day of the week. I will, because it's kept me going. I believe it's kept me healthy, helped keep the cancer at bay, and just getting this weight loss. I was in a stall for a long time, and now the scale is moving slowly, but I am experiencing slow, steady progress. And, I feel really good. So, I'll take the accountability even when I want to stomp around like a little girl, put my lip in, tuck out my lip and say, I don't want to do this. It's,
You know
it's
what I
great.
think about? When we were on The Biggest Loser, we were so accountable, and so we had the ranch, and that was, like, a long filming. Then there was a period in between, and then there was the finale, and then there was, like, a media tour, let's say. So all that time you have accountability. What happened to all The Biggest Losers when it went away? Almost every single one of them gained their weight back.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I do. Well, you had some weight gain. Yeah.
Yes, I had lost 66 pounds on the show, and I gained over 100.
Oh geez. Yeah.
And I struggled and struggled. It's been a struggle ever since. Well, it's been a struggle my whole life, right?
Yep. Yep.
With these
Yeah. You.
addicting foods and
So you found carnivore, and that's pretty much changed your life for the last year and a half. Is that right?
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a life-changing way of eating, and I get why people don't stick with it. Like, for me, if I veer off, my arms and legs start going numb, and my hypoglycemia comes back, and the weight immediately comes back, not all the weight, but inflammation pretty quickly comes on, I feel it, and I don't
Oh.
like to feel like that. Also, did you ever have any anxiety and depression?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you what. Since giving up coffee, believe it or not, I had experienced occasional mild depression. And
Mhm.
yes, anxiety, and I think a lot of that anyway has to do with our background. But yes, especially when eating, super hyper sad diet, it was awful. I was always depressed, down on myself, and this self-hatred.
Yes.
I hated myself. I did.
Mhm.
And I know this may sound crazy, but I would look in the mirror and, I would just say some of the nastiest things. Oh, you're a loser, you're ridiculous, how can you do this? It's not like that anymore. Carnivore, really, it was BBBE for me, which was the game changer, because that made me understand hunger cues when I was really hungry. It was the first time in my life that I experienced that. And then it's like, okay, I got this. And just eating meat, you just automatically feel better. You're more energetic, and the brain fog has lifted, and you're not experiencing that food hangover, right? I know you know about that too.
Yes.
But then when I gave up coffee, it's like, wow. And I've had it a handful of times since. Not good. Not good at all. Because then the anxiety, the clenching
Mhm.
of the jaws, I was irritable. My fuse was very short. So that for me, and I never thought I'd be able to give up coffee. Never in a million years. And that for me kind of solidified. It's like, okay, coffee is just not your thing. I thought it gave me happiness, it gave me life, and I felt better on it. And after giving it up and reintroducing it, like I said, I think I've had it like 3 times. And the first time that was a big mistake, because I went back to like how I would normally drink it instead of enjoying 1 cup. I think I had
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 cups, and that was ridiculous. But I had an incredible amount of energy, but I felt like garbage for almost a week. Almost a week, I
Mm.
felt really bad. And
You get
but yeah,
that heart racing? I get the heart racing.
yes, everything. The sweats, the runny nose. My nose was gushing for 3 days. My nose was so raw from blowing it. It was red, and it was just very sore. But yeah, so I don't have that depression any longer. Like I said, especially since giving up the coffee, I feel so much better. I do.
Yes, I
So
feel so
who's
much
that?
better too. So
Yeah,
maintaining the weight loss that we have plus feeling better is enough to keep bringing us back. And like
absolutely.
you, mine keeps getting shorter too
Yeah.
because I want it. I want to feel good. I don't
Yeah.
wanna feel like crap. It's not even about the weight because my weight has pretty much been the same for a year now, no matter what I do. But it's about feeling good too.
So let me ask you this. Did you notice that like when you would slip and you would return to your old foods, how terrible they tasted? Like the sweet was so much sweeter. You could almost taste the chemicals in like if I were to get a box of like
Yes.
it's just like this is not natural at all. I can't believe I ate this all of my life and I enjoyed it. And it yeah, it tastes awful. So artificial.
That
Yeah.
International Delight coffee creamer, I romanticize about it, and I wanna put it in my decaf and sniff it and drink it. It is so chemically.
Right. Yeah, it's awful. So I mean that's something that you learn too after being on carnivore for any period of time.
And Diet Coke. What was
See,
I thinking?
yeah, I could never get into the diet drinks. I would put sweetener in my coffee when I first got onto carnivore, right? And it after we did BBBE, that's like I squashed it and then that was it. I never returned to the artificial sweetener, which, you know, I am a sugarholic. I could give up
Mhm.
chips and pretzels and all of that, but you give me especially a fresh baked cake or something like that, and that's all I would eat. I'm a
Yes.
perfectly happy person, but yeah. So you were struggling with the diet sodas, huh?
I only tried one while I was on a cruise, and because I thought, "I'm on a cruise, I should have a treat."
Yeah,
And so I think all they had was Diet Coke. They have very few sugar-free options on cruise ships, it's very weird. So I tried the Diet Coke, and it was disgusting. It was not what I remember it being,
yeah,
which thank goodness, because honestly, it is a bunch of chemicals. It is a bunch of caffeine. It's a horrible for our system. I'm sure it's terrible for anybody with autoimmune conditions and gut issues like me, and so I'm glad that it tastes disgusting.
yeah, yeah. And I
Right?
think so much of that is thanks to carnivore. You know, it's like we retrained our brain and retrained our palate, and it's like can't fool me with that. You know, I know better. And yeah, we've learned it's a great learning experience. That's for sure.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
My favorite food is picanha. What is yours?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I do like picanha. There is no doubt about that. But you know, it's gonna be either a ribeye or New York strip. And it really depends on the day. Some days I want a little more fat. I love ribeye, especially that cap. It's so tender. And but a New York strip is just as good too. But I do like picanha. There's no doubt.
Well, Cassie, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and coming on on my show and sharing your story. Everybody can find you on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Am I missing any?
No, no, that's good enough.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching, everybody.